Okay, hello software lovers. Today we continue with new Apiumhub's initiative, interviews with software communities leaders, software event organizers, book authors, software development experts, and influencers. And today we're very excited to welcome Viktor Farcic, developer advocate at Upbound, a member of the Google Developer Experts and Docker Captains Group, and published author. His big passions are DevOps, containers, Kubernetes, microservices, continuous integration, delivery and deployment, and test-driven development. Later on, we'll definitely ask you about these passions. He often speaks at community gatherings and conferences. He published the Devops Toolkit series, Devops Paradox, and test-driven Java development. His random thoughts and tutorials can be found in his blog, technologyconversations.com. He's a co-host of Devops Paradox podcast. And lately we have discovered that he has a very popular YouTube channel, which we will discuss as well later on. Viktor, we can't wait to know more about all these initiatives and how you manage to find time and be able to be active in the community. Let's start with your passion and your journey, as over the past years you have gained a lot of experience in writing books, giving workshops, participating in events, and constantly publishing valuable content in your popular YouTube channel. So, Viktor, please tell us how do you do it?
I don't sleep much. That's the key.
Yeah, I thought so.
I'm in a way fortunate that I've been working for a long time in companies that are very open to me being and working and being paid for working with community, right? So all those things that you named are just different forms around the same idea. And that idea is, hey, I want to dedicate as much time as humanly possible to help people, right? Because I was a junior at the time and others helped me, and now it's kind of time to return it.
All right. But tell us how it all started. How did you discover your passions? How did you start?
Depends how far back you want to go in time. It all started by me getting Amstrad and a book in German, which I did not understand, but I figured out that if I write the same things that are in a book, something happens in a computer, right? That's how it started. I think I was 14. It continued through me being distributing pirate software throughout Europe, and then eventually I started having real jobs. Real software development and stuff like that. So yeah, it started as a hacker and then moved into doing something more productive, let's say.
Hacker, I didn't know about that part. All right.
Yeah. If you're buying software on A tapes for Amstrad or later on Amiga or Atari somewhere in Europe, you probably got it from me directly or indirectly. During 80s, 90s, something like that. 90s.
Okay. Okay. And tell us about all this continuous delivery passion that you have, because we were honored to have you as the professor in ApiumAcademy workshop that you gave, and we received very positive feedback. Also, I remember back in 2019, right, you attended Global Software Architecture Summit, where also you touched this topics and generated a lot of discussions with the audience. So yeah, please tell us more about it. Why DevOps?
Laziness. That's the main motivator. So a long time ago, right, when I worked in my companies, wherever I worked in the past, right, I was always motivated how to be lazy, meaning that I will always put a lot of effort so that I don't have to do the work that I'm doing and that is really, really boring, so that I can do the things that are not boring. And I'm talking now like 20 something years ago, that led me to, hey, can I automate myself out of the job, right? And that could be anything from testing, from building, test-driven development, a long time ago, continuous integration. When I discovered Jenkins, for example, in early days, I think when it was still called Hudson, it was, hey, I can just do this and click some button or something and then read Tolkien or do something more interesting. Well, it looks like I'm doing my job, right? So laziness is the main motivator behind good engineers. How can you automate yourself out of the job so that you don't do the boring stuff?
Well, but actually, this is a very good motivation. Actually, right now in Apiumhub, most of the projects that we receive are actually to automate and to save time. So a very good explanation, I would say. And tell us more about your YouTube channel. So how do you get inspired? You just wake up and say, hey, this topic actually was not covered and I should talk about it, or like speaking with other experts in the industry, like how do you generate this content? Because it is received very well right now.
So YouTube channel is, in a way, apart from my desire and constant goal to kind of help others and community oriented and all that stuff, one of the reasons for YouTube channel was my big failure when writing books, right? So books, I wrote like 8-9 books or something like that. They were very well received, but then a year later, kind of, I had to remove them from the shelf simply because I'm always exploring. I tend to explore cutting edge technology, and then you write the book. It takes you a year to write the book, and by the time you're finished writing the book, you say, "No, this is stupid. No, I don't want to do this anymore. Kind of, that was cool a year ago. It's not cool anymore. We shouldn't be doing this." So I switched to YouTube mostly because of the short content, right? Which is more appropriate, I believe, for technology today that is very, very rapidly changing, right? If I do half an hour video and that takes me a couple of days, and remove that video year or 2 years later, that's not as bad as if I say, hey, I just spent a year of my life. And this technology is deprecated already, right? So I was seeking for a shorter term content. I also did some courses in Udemy and things like that. So I was already at that time familiar with video format. And hey, I became a YouTuber.
Very good strategy. And what about podcast? We saw that also you contribute to a podcast. So how do you say it? Like, do you actually take two different strategies for podcast and YouTube, or you don't distinguish them that much?
They're very different, right? The stuff I do in YouTube, that takes a lot of time. It looks like half an hour video, but it actually days, sometimes weeks, sometimes even months of work go into that video, right? I've really researched the topic, I gain experience about that, or I already have it. Recording, editing, it's a huge process, right? Podcasts are very different because we invite guests or we chat about random topics without guests, and it's kind of, hey, what are we going to talk about today? Excellent. So that's literally 15 seconds conversation before we start recording, and then let's go. Let's talk about this, right? So it's very, very different type of work, right? There isn't that much preparation or editing. I mean, there is editing, but I'm not doing that. Darin, the one who's working with me, is on the editing side. Eventually, we'll maybe make it video as well, but we'll see.
Okay. And you mentioned like writing a book that was actually what motivated you, right, to start like this video content, like short content. But do you believe that there are bullet points, like silver bullets in software development? Like while writing a book, you said like, hey, this is actually can't go obsolete, so it will like live for ages.
It depends. Some topics live longer than others, right? If you talk about principles of something, hey, principles behind agile or DevOps or something that is not that specific with a specific technology that tends to live longer, right? Or like, Ken Beck's book about XP, for example. That's still a very, very good read. It's just that I do apply those things heavily, but when I produce content, I'm much more interested in technology itself, right? And very often in technology that I'm one of the 5 people who ever tried this. We do not know whether this something will exist next week, right? So the type of material and subject that I'm interested in right now, it was different in the past, it has a much shorter shelf life, right? Like I spent years telling everybody, hey, you should use Docker Swarm, it's amazing. And now it doesn't exist. I mean, it exists physically.
I remember that. Right? Yeah.
Yeah, I was wrong. I'm wrong. Everything I said more than a year ago, I was wrong. Whatever I said, don't listen to it. Kind of don't do it anymore. I was wrong in everything I said in the past.
Okay, so when we are searching for a trendy innovation topic, then Viktor Farcic is the right person, right?
Yeah, just check the date. If it's older, forget it.
Okay, and we saw also that you participate in a lot of events, actually international events, not only here in Spain. So tell us about your favorite ones and maybe like your bucket list, the ones that you would like to attend or the ones that you already got invited to.
Okay, so there are a couple of questions there, right? My favorites are, I prefer smaller events than big ones. So I go every year, both in US and Europe, before in China as well. KubeCon, that's huge event, the event like 10,000 people. It's great, but I prefer smaller ones. Like tomorrow, I'm going to Amsterdam for Kubernetes community days, which I really enjoy. Kind of a couple of hundred people, not more. I find it more engaging and simply better because you connect with everybody instead of being on a football stadium type of feeling, right? So DevOps days and Kubernetes community days are probably my favorites right now. As to where I'm looking forward to go, I'm looking forward to be in a country I haven't been yet. So I've been everywhere in Europe and everywhere in US. So I want to find the conference in South America or Africa. That's where I don't care what it is. I don't care what it is. Anything. I'll come. I just want an excuse to go somewhere I haven't been yet.
Love your strategy. Nice. And here in Spain, actually, do you have any events in your list that you're going to attend, or haven't?
Yes, I will probably go. So I will go to DevBCN, which is sometime in July, I think, or something like that.
Yeah.
And I think, if I'm not mistaken, that this year's European edition of Open Source Summit is in Bilbao. Somewhere in Spain. I think Bilbao. Not 100% sure, but somewhere in Spain. So I will go to that one as well, for sure. Probably a couple of more. The problem is that I honestly, if you ask me, I don't know where I'm going anymore. I have a calendar and then a reminder kind of like, oh, tomorrow you're traveling to Amsterdam. Like I woke up this morning and I'm going to Amsterdam. Okay, so that's where I'm going right now. I have no idea. I know that I have a bunch of places scheduled. I have no idea what they are. It's kind of like I just remove them from my memory until I get reminded. But those two I do remember that are in Spain.
Actually, oh my God, you live a life of my dreams, please. What is your position again?
Developer advocate. Yeah. I still like traveling. I might get bored one day, but right now, hey, I travel for free in a way.
Amazing. Love it. Absolutely. And as you participate in so many activities and events and like analyzing 2020, 2022. What would be your biggest highlights? What have you learned?
First of all, that I think many companies learn that people can be as productive or more productive working remote, which gives me great pleasure. I've been working remote for a very, very long time, but I really like the idea that not always, and it's not always the best idea, but that more and more people are working remote. And what excites me about working remote is not necessarily that you're working remote, that you're working from your home. That, to me, that's not the main excitement about it, but being able to form a team independently of where those people are, right? Because in the past, hey, we all worked in the office, and then you need to figure out how to gather people who are good within that city, right? And now, hey, I think that this guy would be great for us. Kind of, he really fits into this team, this company. Let's get him, right? Where does he live? Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Australia, India, who cares? Nobody cares, right? So that switch to, I think that COVID years accelerated that switch to remote when appropriate. And to me, that was very exciting. And then the negative thing about COVID, I believe, is that everybody starts having online conferences, and I really don't like it. I really, really don't. It's kind of almost choosing to go back from Netflix to real-time television or something like that. So that's my negative COVID thingy or outcome.
But we noticed actually last year, well, in 2022, more and more event organizers started to actually organize offline events. So this is something positive. But yeah, I completely agree with you. Like 2020, 2021 was like too many online events, and people started to to get overwhelmed and tired of them because it's more difficult to follow, right? Several talks in a row. But
to me, it's more because, if my only objective is to listen to somebody, then I don't want to be tied to a specific time. Hey, this day, that time, you need to listen to. Hey, you record it, and I'm going to watch it whenever, right? YouTube, for example. And the advantage of doing something in real time is that communication, right? It's not about me listening to somebody. It's about me being able to ask questions live, to communicate with that somebody, to maybe get him after the talk and continue the conversation. It's all about conversation when it's live. And I felt that was lost in online conferences. Kind of, hey, most speakers do recorded talks. I hate recorded talks. When it's live, again, I do recorded talks, but kind of watch it whenever you want, YouTube, right? But when it's live, I want it live.
Yeah, absolutely. And actually, it's curious. I would like to ask you one question related to this. This year, we're organizing Global Software Architecture Summit. By the way, you're more than invited in October.
I'll submit something.
If you still don't have this dates occupied, you're welcome. So right now, we are actually recollecting feedback to make sure that 40 minutes talks and 15 minutes for questions, plus like short, like 5 minute, 10 minutes break between talks would make sense. Like this, people could discuss like the previous talk, with the peers. So what do you think about having talks of the duration of 40 minutes and like 15 minutes for questions and answers? Like, would you reduce the time or add time? Like as a speaker and as attendee, let's say, what would be your perfect equilibrium?
I mean, I would give at least 15 minutes for questions. The more, if you ask me, I would say, hey, I don't know, if the whole talk is 45 minutes, and I sometimes do that, kind of, hey, I know that I have 40 minutes for talk and 5 minutes for question. I'm gonna go through this thing in 20 minutes, and let's just kind of let's go with questions. The type of talks actually I enjoy the most are fireside talks, right? when somebody just goes on a stage and say, "Hey, I have no talk for you," kind of like let's just go through. I mean, it could be one person or a panel. Let's just go through questions. Let's just start the conversation. To me, that's the best one.
Yeah, actually, I completely agree with you. What happened to us last year that just like one day before the conference, two speakers got sick, so they couldn't make it to the event, and we're like, oh my God, what will we do? So we found a very good substitute for one talk, but not for the second one. We're like, oh my God, what will we do? But we had like great speakers, and we're like, what if we improvise and just invite like 6 speakers to the stage and just organize like question and answer session, and let's see how it goes. And you know what, like based on the satisfaction feedback, like people really enjoyed it. They were like, oh my God, like this is the part that we really enjoyed a lot, because we could ask all the questions that we couldn't ask during all the previous talks during the conference, and that's like completed the experience, let's say.
Yeah, I would make it. I don't think anybody did it, or at least that I know, but I would make an experiment and organize a full day only that. Kind of like there are those 10 or 15 people, and you can just ask anything, and they can ask you. Kind of like just come up with what bothers you. Kind of like you're almost like a doctor's appointment. Okay, what's wrong with you? Tell me.
Actually, I think Socrates Conf, I don't know if you have been there. Like,
I haven't yet. I'm so disappointed in myself for not going yet there. There was always something else. But yeah, they do that.
Yeah, actually, like I think it was last week we spoke with Carlos Ble, the organizer, who is based in Tenerife, and he just mentioned like right now they are preparing like an upcoming edition. He said like it will be just like open space conf, so everyone can participate, like no talks, no nothing, just like you come, you propose ideas, you discuss, and that's it. And so far it has been received very, very well. So yeah, actually we're also excited to go there and just talk and share experiences and discuss all the trendy topics.
Exactly.
Okay, so continuing with valuable insights that you could share. So you have written several books, but what could you tell us about your favorite ones, the ones that you read and the ones that really made an impact in your career, in your life, the ones that made you maybe rethink something? Which books would you recommend?
What I'm going to say is going to be very, very embarrassing, especially since I wrote books. I haven't read a book in like 15 years. And I have a good, excuse for that. No, you're not even mine. The reason is that over time I've moved very close to the edge. I don't mean edge like edge computing, but edge technology. So what I'm researching is usually some random repositories, often going through code or some readmes, long before it gets into books. So for a while now, what I'm interested in really kind of is, books are absolutely amazing, and I think that everybody should read books, but I tend to swoop in like a couple of years before it gets into a book, right? But in the past, like to begin with, like the book that everybody should read always, that's the C book from Richie. I think it's like this one, and it doesn't really matter that you will never work with C. It's completely relevant. That's how you learn programming. I think it's Richie is the name of the guy, right? And and the second, and this is really, really old now, the XP from Kent, is a must read.
Yeah. Actually, most of software development experts say like this book is like for sure in the list, for sure.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. That one will not grow old, unlike mine, ever, or at least not for a while now.
Yeah, actually, like me, I read a lot, but I'm more into reading like articles, like short-term content, just because of
Yeah,
the
that yeah.
lack of time. So for people like me, like you, and I'm sure like there are a lot of like-minded people, maybe you could share your favorite blogs or maybe influencers who you follow, and you say like, hey, if you're not really into books or you don't have time to read like several books in 1 year, maybe like just reading several articles by this expert or following particular
Yeah.
blogs might give like a good overview of what is going on and just like increase.
So
Yeah.
I'm going to recommend actually people rather than specific blogs. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Brett Fisher is absolutely amazing. He has a YouTube channel. He has courses. I think that he writes as well. Again, completely random topics. It's all around DevOps, containers, Kubernetes, Docker, stuff like that. So Brett Fisher is my first recommendation.
Mm-hmm.
Also, Kunal from if you're into younger audience, like younger 20 something, then Kunal from Sivo. He's
Okay.
absolutely amazing. He writes a lot. He does some videos. He does some courses. He's a machine. So Kunal from Sivo. I'm not sure the last
Okay.
name, but if you Google Kunal from Sivo, you
Okay.
will find him easily.
Okay. All right. Thank you. And talking about topics that interest you the most this year. Well, I can guess that it's still DevOps, right? But like
Yeah.
digging maybe a little bit like deeper, what topics interest you the most this year? So what are the trends that attracted your attention and the ones that you would like to discover in the upcoming months?
Yeah, so there are a couple of things. First, and the biggest one, obviously, I'm very, very interested in control planes, meaning extending Kubernetes not to be something that runs your applications as containers, but simply to manage absolutely everything. I think that Kubernetes is going to extend to manage everything. That's the reason why I got interested years ago into Crossplane and why I joined the company. So you can think of it as recommendation or me being biased. Choose either of the two. But control planes, extending Kubernetes much further than we are right now is one of my primary interests. The other one is eBPF is absolutely amazing. It is a way to extend kernel safely. So eBPF is going to be massively huge. OpenTelemetry is also something that I will be focusing more this year. Stuff like that.
Okay. And talking about the events where you will actually give talk or workshop. So what are the topics that you talk about this year?
Now, let me tell you a secret. I have a talk day after tomorrow in Amsterdam, and I have no idea what's it about. I know that I submitted something. I honestly don't know. I'm gonna figure it out tomorrow in a plane. I have no. It's going to be something around Kubernetes or DevOps. I have. So what is happening is that I have a bunch of random ideas floating in my head. Sometimes ideas based on something I'm experienced in, sometimes ideas of something that I want to explore. So when people invite me to speak at some event, that's usually like half a year before the event itself. And I just I pick randomly from those random thoughts that I put in some README and I just throw it over there. And if I get accepted, then kind of usually, hey, okay, so I'm talking about this tomorrow. Let's figure it out. So I really don't know. Actually, I do know one because unlike others, this requires huge preparation. I'm doing a set of talks with Whitney from VMware. Actually, not only talks, but talks and some videos and some live streams, a lot of events and workshops, and they're all focused on. I don't know if when you were young, did you have books, choose your own adventure type of books? Where you would read like a couple of pages, that's when I was young. When you would read a couple of pages in a book, and then you would get to some point and you would have a questions like, hey, do you want to slay the dragon, or do you want to run away? Or do you want to do this or that? And then depending on your choices, you move to page 15 or 20 or 25.
Oh,
That was
okay.
big
I
when I
didn't
was a
have
kid.
that kind of books. Oh, wow.
Absolutely amazing. Absolutely. So basically, you choose how you want to progress with the story, right? And then you go to this page or that page. Now, we're doing something very similar with CNCA projects. So I'm talking about 200 plus projects. And we want to connect them all together, make them all work together, and let people choose. Hey, okay, so now what is the first set of choices? How are we going to build container images? I'm inventing now. Okay, excellent. What are the projects that you can do for that? Those. A brief explanation of all those projects, and then you choose, oh, I'm going to build an image with this. Excellent. And then you go to the next stage, oh, we need to store images somewhere, we can do this or that. You make a choice, right? So it's a huge repository with all the instructions, how to go through all the permutations, everything. And it's going. I think it's going to take us 2 years approximately to finish it. But that's based on that material, that idea. We'll have a couple of talks and some events and things like that.
Oh,
so
wow.
I do remember one.
That
There you
sounds
go.
very, very interesting. And I think this is absolutely a trend. That's what also Netflix does, right? Where you can actually choose what action would you like the main character to take. Yeah, okay.
Exactly.
So
kind of
then
ultimately the goal is to prepare people to go from nothing to have a fully production grade ready everything. So just gonna take 2 years, but hey.
Great. No, but it sounds very, very interesting, really. And so when you have it done, where will you share it? Should we follow you on social media, on newsletter or something, to be the first ones to know about it?
We already started, so it will be in a couple of forms, right? There will be some talks and some events. There will be some workshops, but we already started that every Tuesday. And actually, this is not live, but right now we are recording it, and I have a session on that one. The next episode starting in an hour. So right after I finish recording with you, I'm actually going for that thing. So every Tuesday on YouTube, we have a live session with guests that all explain their technology, and we let people choose. And then I implement that choice and so on and so forth.
Wow.
So it's already live every Tuesday.
Nice. And what I wanted to tell you. All right. So right now I have like 2 words that describe Viktor Farcic for me in my head. The improviser and the trendy man, for sure.
I'm not sure about trend, but yeah, I like improvising a lot. Yes.
Yeah, that's actually.
You didn't ask me that, but very, very often when people invite me to talk about something as a guest, usually they kind of like send me questions and I return immediately. I don't want to know, kind of like just do it live. I love improvising. I take that.
Perfect. And talking about this 2023, so is there anything that you would like to improve? Anything you would like to actually, change in terms of process, change in terms of technology, change in terms of, I don't know, methodology,
to myself, you mean?
Whatever. To yourself, maybe something that you discovered in software development industry that you believe can be improved a lot, and you already have an idea of like what would you like to implement.
Yeah, so the part about myself, I never have any plans what I would. So I'm a strong believer in kind of really continuous improvement. So I never think about, hey, during this year I would like to improve this big thing. It's more like that every time, at least once a week or day or something like that. Whenever I do something, I have a quick brainstorming by talking to the mirror, kind of, tiny details. I'm more focused on tiny improvements than, so I don't have a big list, kind of, hey, this is my goal of this year. I don't do those things. But for people, I think that we should really, eBPF would be, if I would choose one thing that beyond the obvious, like artificial intelligence, right? eBPF is something that if I would have a choice, that I would recommend people to focus this year.
Okay. All right. It was absolutely, I don't know how to describe our conversation. It was fun. It was very interesting. It was very insightful. I'm sure this video will receive a lot of shares, reshares, likes and stuff like this. Thank you so much for participating in this initiative. We really hope to see you in the upcoming events, because it seems like 3 events for sure we will share. It's Socra, the event in Tenerife that you might go.
Yep.
The DEF BCN for sure we will go there as well, and hopefully in Global Software Architecture Summit as well.
I'm gonna check it right after this conversation.
Perfect. Okay, Viktor. Thank you so much for making it today, for sharing all your, let's say, not that standard thoughts. So we see this industry from your angle. It's absolutely amazing. So thank you, and definitely let's keep in touch. We will see each other face to face very soon for sure.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.